everyone, to our Wednesday, February 13th school committee, and we want to thank Bridgewater Local Access, which is filming our meeting tonight. And if you would all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. And first up on our agenda, the approval of the minutes from the January 23rd meeting. Motion to approve by
So moved.
Mrs. Skelparis, second by Mr. Dolan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thank you. And any correspondence and recognition for tonight, Mr. Swenson?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much. I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention and to the audience here and at home, on Saturday, February 2nd, 2019, 53 student musicians auditioned for the Southeastern Massachusetts School Bandmasters Association Festival. Of these 53 student musicians representing the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional High School, Bridgewater Middle School, and Raynham Middle School, 35 made the honors band and chorus. 11 middle school student musicians were accepted into the junior SENSBA program, 8 band members and 3 choral students, and 24 high school musicians were accepted into the senior SENSBA program. We would like to congratulate and recognize some of these students who are actually here in attendance this evening. We would also like to thank all of our wonderful music educators and the parent music booster groups for all of their hard work and dedication to all of our incredible student musicians. For they are here, and their achievements and their accomplishments would not be without the guidance and support of these individuals and groups. Also, you are highly dedicated school committee members who have worked hard over the past few years to make the arts a priority within our district. So I thank you as well. Collectively, all those involved have brought great pride and honor to our district. So there's some members this evening. Could you please stand and be recognized? And can I ask that you please come forward and shake the hands of the committee?
Yeah.
And that's all we have under recognition this evening. As I always say to our students who come, we'd love you to stay and witness a real-life civics lesson here in motion, or you can go home and do your homework. All right, enjoy. Thank you, and congratulations to you all. We're all very proud of you.
Very good. Moving on to our administrative and school committee reports, we'll start with our special education advisory report by Mrs. Skelparis.
Okay, the Bridgewater-Raynham CPAC held many presentations. The first one being a meet and greet with the Bridgewater-Raynham special ed directors and the board at the beginning of the year. They also had a family special education event where parents gathered information from local agencies that support children with special needs. Childcare was provided. They've had many other presentations which covered topics such as basic rights, first responder, parent autism awareness training, behavioral interventions, and special needs trusts. The presentations are held at the Bridge Center in Bridgewater, and child care is provided for parents who sign up prior to the event. There are still 3 more upcoming presentations on March 12th, Making Sense of the Affordable Care Act and Mass Health Common Health, April 9th, Transition, and May 7th, Social Emotional Learning. The CPAC continues to provide two $250 scholarships to graduating seniors that have received special ed services sometime in their BR school career. They also donated poly pellets to Miss Fidel and Miss Albon's classes, then worked with the classroom students to make weighted stuffed animals and pillows to donate to the sub-separate classrooms in the school district. They will also be collecting nominations from parents and guardians in April for Make a Difference Awards. District staff from the preschool to the high school level who have made a significant difference in the lives of students they serve will then be recognized at the BRCPAC May presentation. So it's a great group. Kate Dyer does a great job, as well as all the volunteers and the parents in that group. So if you have a child with special needs, it'd be a good place to do some research and support the district.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. And next, we have our Mitchell School Building Project update. Mr. Swenson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, on Monday, February 11th, 2019, the School Building Committee further reviewed the new construction option for a tentative George H. Mitchell Elementary School project. A thorough discussion also took place regarding the possibility of entering the MSBA Model School Program. The Model School Program seeks to effectively adapt and reuse the design of useful, recently constructed pre-K through 12 grade schools. After much deliberation and debate, the School Building Committee voted to not move forward with the possible exploration of the Model School Program. The rationale being that the School Building Committee believed none of the 5 elementary model school options effectively or efficiently aligned with the educational profiles submitted by the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional School District, nor would it be able to handle the projected enrollment within that site. A vote to move forward with the preferred schematic report, or the PSR, of the new construction option did occur and will be submitted by Wednesday, February 20th, 2019 deadline. Select members of the School Building Committee will be required to present this information within the PSR to the MSBA Facilities Assessment Committee on Wednesday, March 13th, 2019, and a decision to approve the preferred solution will be taken at the MSBA board meeting on April 10th. On behalf of the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional School District, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the hardworking members of the School Building Committee, Datalist Projects Incorporated, and Raymond Design and Associates for all of their efforts in adhering to a very aggressive timeline and ensuring that the PSR will be completed and approved for the first possible submission date. As always, additional George H. Mitchell Elementary School project and MSBA information updates can be found at www.bridgewaterschoolproject.com. So thank you, and thank you to Mr. Dolan and to Mrs. Holbrook for being such hard members, working members of that group, and also the communication working group that's putting out a lot of great information to our community. So I thank you folks, and I thank Dr. Primadowski and Ms. Kaparis and others who attended Monday evening's meeting as well. So thank you, and we're very excited. It's been a long process. It's been, again, a very aggressive timeline, but I'm very proud of the work that the district and the committee has made as a whole to make sure that we got through that first submission date. So hopefully we can begin to expedite this process and move forward with a possible project.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Swenson from any committee members? Very good, all right. Next, we're going to move on to our Budget Subcommittee report. Mrs. Klaparis.
Okay, the Budget Subcommittee met twice since our last regular school committee meeting. Our first report on January 30th, and then the other meeting was February 6th. All committee members, myself, Dr. Brandowski, Mike, and Tony were also present at both meetings. At the January 30th meeting, the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional School District user fee schedule was reviewed. It's enclosed in your school committee packets. It's the new fee schedule unanimously recommended by the Budget Subcommittee. It includes increases in athletic fees, pre-K tuition, all base programs, sports up fund camp, and summer school fees. All other fees will remain the same, being people and should be happy. And exam fees are not set by the school district. Those are by the college board and things like that. So whatever they charge, we charge. So in the form of a motion to change the user fee schedule for the 2019-20 school year as amended by the Budget Subcommittee.
Motion by Mrs. Klaparis, second by Mrs. Holbrook.
Thank you.
Any discussion, and before we do that, Mr. Swenson, any comments on the fee increases.
Yes, I had brought up possible fee increases over the course of the last few years, especially moving into budget season, when we look at the revenue side of the district as being part of the actual operational budget formula. I feel like over the course of the last few years, we have not had some increases, and then it seems over a 5-year period, and then we have a time where we get these real big hitting type increases that really become an issue for our families, and we don't want to do that. So, my idea was to possibly incrementally increase some of these fees. Obviously, we wish we could, be feeless, but obviously, there's only so much money within the operational budget to keep some of these programs afloat. So unfortunately, we need a fee schedule. So that being said, we had not had a real fee increase for a few years. So I think it was time for us to start to increase this, but again, do it so that's incrementally over time rather than really big chunk hits every 5 years where it really becomes a detriment to our families and students. So with that, I do appreciate the hard work of the Financial Subcommittee in taking that under advisement.
Any other questions, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? So voted, thank you. And we're able to put this on our website so
Yes.
that people, so this will be for fiscal year next year?
Yes, fiscal year.
20.
Correct, fiscal year 20, yes.
So starting in July.
July 1.
Correct. I always get
Yep.
confused what year. Okay. I'm sorry, continue.
That's okay. Okay, and no big surprise, we spent a lot of time talking about the fiscal year 20 budget. Per directive from Superintendent Swenson, Kathy Macedo, the Director of Business Services, provided us with budgetary numbers to determine what the assessment would look like for the towns using several scenarios. Using an estimated 3.5 assessment increase from Bridgewater and a 3.4 assessment from Raynham. Unfortunately, all 18 requested positions would need to be eliminated, and deeper cuts to the district-wide needs, such as textbooks and technology, would result. The Budget Subcommittee requested a complete breakdown of all items cut from the initial budget proposal by the February 6th meeting. We strategized ways of making reductions in the least impactful way, looked at the long-term effects of prior staffing reductions made through attrition in previous budget seasons, and talked about the need for additional counseling staff. There was a brief discussion as well about the regional agreement, because when things don't go the way we want them to, that usually comes up. There were no concrete budget decisions made at this meeting. Concerns over large class size during formative learning years was also discussed at length. A formal invitation to the March 13, 2019 public hearing will be sent to the Bridgewater Town Council and the Raynham Selectmen. So on March 13, 2019, we have the public hearing. March 20th, a joint budget subcommittee meeting. And then March 27th, the school committee will vote on the budget. At this time, we're not sure if there'll be another financial subcommittee meeting before those meetings, but there's probably a good chance the week after February vacation we may meet. So that is January 30th. On February 6th, again, the same members were present, myself, Susan, Tony, and Michael. Mr. Fox, Facilities Director, attended the meeting to request funding for a traffic study to be conducted to address the parking issues at the Merrill and La Liberty Elementary Schools. The district has recently negotiated receipt of a T-ball field that may help alleviate some of the parking issues at the schools, but the superintendent would like to ensure all parking and queuing concerns are properly addressed. The traffic study is a first step in the planning process. Mr. Fox predicted that the project completion date would be mid-July. The traffic study will be paid for out of the facilities revolving fund and bill forwarded to the town of Raynham for reimbursement. In the form of a motion, I'd like to authorize an expenditure of up to $15,000 for a traffic study at Merrill and La Liberty Elementary Schools, using the facilities revolving fund and forwarding the bill to the town of Raynham for reimbursement.
Right. Motion by Mrs. Coparis, second by Mr. Gelfi. Any discussion? Any comments, Mr. Swenson?
Yes, obviously, we have traffic flow concerns at a number of our sites throughout the district. We have, due to a number of concerns. One on the Bridgewater side we have, because we're down a site, obviously. We have now 4 grade levels over at the Williams Intermediate School, so there are definitely some traffic flow concerns there. At the Mitchell at the middle, we do have a site that was, at one time a high school, and it was really not constructed to have a drop-off by parents. It was more of a bus or high school students who would drive to school, so we've had some concerns there. We have worked with the Bridgewater safety officials and looked at some possible options at those sites. It seems like we're having some real concerns. Definitely at the Williams Intermediate School, we're trying our best to alleviate those and come up with some ideas. We're also having a situation where both communities are growing. We have a lot of homes that are under construction, a lot of homes that are being sold in both communities. Going to the other side of 104 now in Raynham, we have 2 elementary schools that pretty much share the same campus, and again, their numbers are growing exponentially in terms of student population. With that, we have a lot more parents who are dropping off. We have more buses that are en route than when those schools were initially constructed. With that being said, we have been working with the town of Raynham and the Park and Recreation Department. There is a T-ball field that sits right between both sites that we feel as though that we could possibly relocate somewhere else on the sports complex for Park and Rec, so they don't lose a field, but we gain some space in front of the building. And we felt that it would be best if we had an actual traffic consultant come in, similar to what we're doing right now with the Mitchell Elementary School project for 500 South Street. We're having folks come in and look at traffic flow, because that is a safety concern for us. There are some mornings, if you ever drive by the Merrill and La Liberty, where sometimes traffic on Pleasant Street can be up to the 4 corners where the Stone Church is. That's a concern for us. It's a concern for safety officials if they have to ever get safety vehicles down Pleasant Street in the morning drop-off and in the afternoon as well. So we're looking at that. We feel it's in our best interest, if we're going to do it right. Have people who are professionals in this field come in. I mean, myself, Mr. Fox, and Detective Pacheco and Mr. Morera over the summer, along with Mr. Powers, went out and looked at that site, and we had some ideas, but obviously that's not our field. So we feel like it's in our best interest to have this traffic study done and do it correctly if we're going to, especially if we're going to be taking fields and away from our baseball organization and relocating that somewhere else. If we're going to do this, we just want to make sure that it's done effectively and efficiently. So we think it's in the best interest to have this traffic study complete.
Very good. So all those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Fox also updated the committee on the high school football field and track, which are both at the end of their life expectancies. The associated cost, replacement, and refurbishing of the outdoor facilities for the football field is between $400,000 and $600,000, and the track would be upwards of $1 million to repair. The option of using the track at the Raynham Middle School became a topic of discussion. Also, fundraising and corporate sponsorship options were considered. I can say from my past experience on Fallbrook that $1 million track has been, it's been $1 million for a while, so I don't know. It could be a little higher in my opinion, but I'm not the facilities person. Lastly, Mr. Fox asked for an increase to the custodial fee for events occurring after normal custodial hours to prevent the district from taking a loss during these functions. Motion to raise the custodial per hour rate associated with the facility user fee schedule to $50 an hour.
Motion by Mrs. Coparis, second by Mr. Dolan. Any discussion?
Just to make sure we're clear on when folks and what groups
Who gets
will be charged, can you just elaborate that onto that, Julie, a little bit?
Yeah, it's for the outsiders, the ones that aren't directly associated with the school.
Okay, thank you. Just to make sure that that's clear for everybody.
But it would be for anyone who uses the space when a custodian is typically not
Correct.
there.
Not there.
On a Saturday or on a Friday night. And I believe it's a $5 increase. It was 45.
It was
It was.
46, $4 increase.
$4, okay.
$4, yep.
All right, very good.
Right, thank you for that.
Any comment, Mr. Swenson, on
No, it's one of those situations where we wish we didn't have to, especially nonprofits, attach a fee to it. But it is a situation where if we do have to put additional staff on, based upon whatever the activity is, especially if it has food or, we had one, I think, at one point it was an ice cream social and there had to be additional cleanup, so it could have really used an additional custodian on staff at that night. Because true, on Friday nights, I know that you just said, we do have the night custodians, but they do have their sections that they have to actually complete, going into the weekend. On the weekends, there's no real custodians within the building, so we do need to bring those people in. Obviously, they have a contract, they have to be compensated, and it's a situation, if they do come in, the school district would have to absorb that cost if we did not put that on the folks who are coming in to utilize the facility. So that is, the rate has been that way for quite a bit. So Mr. Fox felt as though it was time to possibly increase that. Again, not to parent groups and folks that are directly connected to the schools, but more of outside organizations who may come in to utilize our space.
Very good. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thank you.
Okay, we discussed Kathy Macedo discussed the fiscal year 19 budget with us. Each line item was gone over in great detail. Areas of budget being closely watched are heating, substitute line, special education, and home tutoring. The substitute line has increased approximately $20,000 this year over last year in the teacher, nurses, and educational support professional categories. However, the secretaries, there's been a reduction of $432 over last year. Each year, as the budget is further tightened by use of the district's revolving funds to offset budgetary assessment shortfalls, accounts such as school choice, base, and the facilities use areas have been drastically reduced. And when we made the presentation last month, Mr. Swenson showed that we were using school choice and base money and this, for other things, and the more we use it, the less we have for other things. So that was fiscal year 19. And we continued our fiscal year 20 budget discussion. Unfortunately, the percentage is now 3.4 and not 3.5, or at least it was as of February 6th. The projected increase from Bridgewater over last year, and it will still result in all of the 18 requested positions, additional positions requested to be cut, in addition to books, supplies, and technology. Currently, we still have a $400,000 shortfall even after these reductions. If the percentage does not change in the office, go up instead of down, the superintendent and director of business services will then look at other extracurricular activities to reduce the $400,000. We also directed or requested from Ms. Macedo to look into the feasibility of additional E&D funds being used to help offset the budget shortfall. I mean, the problem there is we keep, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and eventually there is no Paul, and we're going to be in worse shape than we're in. I'm honest. However, I am going to let Mr. Powers give you a more detailed presentation of the reductions to date.
Before we do that, Mr. Powers, did you have a comment on some of those discussions?
Yes. So basically, my preliminary budget into the number that Bridgewater has given us of the 3.4, it was about a $4 million differential. So with that, the first thing that we look at is one of our biggest cost drivers, which unfortunately is staffing. We've talked about additional staffing for the reduction of class size, also the real big concern about the uptick of our social emotional concerns for some of our students. We did look at adding some positions at the high school for more electives to be offered, which ties into NEASC and accreditation. So there are a lot of things that, we really felt as though were needs-based and should be in this budget, but in the end, when you have to reduce $4 million, there's only so many places you can go. So we were, right off the bat, took away all 18 positions. At that point, we still had a shortfall. We cut all of our general supplies. We cut some textbooks that Mr. Powers had a textbook line. Folks might know that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has put forth new social studies and science standards. So we were looking to purchase about $300,000 worth of pilot materials for next year that align with those frameworks. So that was cut. After all of those reductions in all of those lines, we still have about a $400,000 shortfall. So as Ms. Cabarrus just stated, we have to, look at right now, what are our options? Obviously, we already have high class size. We already have issues with our social emotional issues of our students. We have, limited electives right now at the high school. So we don't want to look to reduce, further staffing. And it would be a ripple effect. We're not just talking teachers. It would impact other areas of the organization, custodial, secretarial. All those positions obviously impact the effectiveness and efficiency of how our organization works. So right now, I will say that I have been in communication with the town manager from Bridgewater, Mr. Michael Dutton. We've also had some communication with our liaison for the schools through the Raynham FinCom, and we're actually meeting with the Raynham FinCom, myself and Dr. Priondowski, next Tuesday evening in Raynham to talk about the budget and where we are currently in terms of what the assessment Bridgewater says, percentage increase that Bridgewater says that they can handle, which then impacts obviously Raynham's number, the way in which the regional agreement works. So right now, we do have that shortfall. I'm confident that we'll continue to work collaboratively with our towns to try to figure out what's in the best interest of our students and staff and try to bridge that gap. But bridging that gap, I would just say, is even if we make up for that $400,000 shortfall, still means a reduction of those 18 positions. It still means reduction in our supplies, in our textbooks. That's just to turn the page into next fiscal year. So I just want to be clear with the committee and to the audience that that is indeed the case. So with that being said, I think it's important that Mr. Powers, who's worked very hard in the last week or so to kind of put together a couple of slides here to show you what the impact would be without those positions, and hopefully we don't have to move in a direction where there have to be further reductions in current force, meaning our current teachers, paraprofessionals, custodial, secretarial, all of those different areas of the organization.
So we can anticipate with the 3.4 Bridgewater portion and then Raynham's share that these cuts most likely are going to happen in what Mr. Powers is going to next present to us.
Correct. Based upon that 3.4% increase that Bridgewater is stating that they can handle in terms of an assessment increase from FY19, it would still mean, again, all of these reductions, still a $400,000 shortfall that we need to figure out, whether that be through reductions in force, utilization of other revolvings or E&D, or working with the towns to see if some type of assessment increase is possible.
And we did ask Mr. Powers if he'd put it on a slide presentation so we could actually see it. So if we could move our seats.
Dr. Priondowski, Mr. Swenson, members of the school committee. Just as that screen is warming up, several of the slides I've put together are really a summary of what Mr. Swenson just shared with you with a little greater detail as well. I'm not sure what that Mr. Sean says. Okay, well, we'll work around that lamp notification. Members of the school committee, as you remember, back in January, at the January meeting, you approved the Bridgewater-Raynham Regional School District's Student Success Plan. And that plan was built around 4 pillars: curriculum and instruction, safe and supportive schools, technology, and facilities. And really, you can see up there what we hope to accomplish over the next 5 years of that Student Success Plan. Under curriculum and instruction is to establish a cohesive, rigorous, district-wide system of teaching and learning, Under safe and supportive schools, created a school environment where all students and staff are physically, socially, and emotionally safe and supported. Under technology, ensure equal access to technology that is effective and efficient and meets the educational and operational needs of the district. And under facilities, establish and maintain environmentally and operationally safe school facilities that support the students, staff, and families of Bridgewater and Raynham. And as Mr. Swenson explained, right after this presentation, he got up and he delivered his FY20 proposed student success budget. Obviously, these 4 pillars are driven by the budget, but we also believe our budget is driven by these 4 pillars. And so Mr. Swenson has developed a budget that really addresses moving the district forward in all 4 areas. Mr. Swenson, would you mind assisting me with that? I don't think it's reaching the distance. Thank you. So as you recall, Mr. Swenson proposed a total of 18 positions. You can see 6 additional positions in the town of Bridgewater, 3 additional positions in the town of Raynham, 4 additional positions at the high school, and then 5 additional positions district-wide for, again, a total of 18. And this is how it breaks down. Really, you can see the categories up the top. What school the position was requested for, how many positions, the actual position itself, how it connects to our student success plan, and then what I wanted to share with you tonight, the implications of these positions if they are eliminated. So currently we had proposed 1 second grade teacher at the Mitchell Elementary School, obviously directly connected to curriculum and instruction. If you eliminated this position for next year, you would start the school year off with an average class size of 28. We had proposed one additional third grade teacher, also at the Mitchell Elementary School for next year. Again, the elimination of this position will result in an average class size of 30 to start the year next year at the Mitchell Elementary School.
I'm sorry to interrupt you in the middle of this. Those are class sizes with our current number of students.
Yes, Mr. Dolan, thank you for clarifying. So if we moved our current enrollment, so that does not factor in any new students that move to the district, we typically, as Ms. Cohane will attest, we have quite a number of students that move in over the summer, so this certainly isn't taking into account those move-ins that we typically see every year. So those numbers are simply if we move our current enrollment up to next year without adding any new staff. No problem. At the Williams Intermediate School, we had proposed adding 1 school adjustment counselor, again to address the safe and supportive schools pillar, obviously to address the social emotional needs of our students. We currently have 2 school psychologists over at the Williams School for a little under 1,000 students. That is going to average out to a current caseload of about 380 students that those school psychologists will be responsible for. Obviously, the addition of the school adjustment counselor will be able to alleviate those numbers, but those school psychologists, in addition to handling the day-to-day needs of our students, are also responsible for academic testing as part of the special education process. They're responsible for chairing those team meetings. They're responsible for writing up the reports and developing the IEP as well. And again, handling those day-to-day issues that may arise. If we were able to add a school adjustment counselor, that certainly would be able to alleviate some of their burden. We also proposed adding an ESP, an educational support professional, who ideally would be ABA certified. This really meets both pillars of curriculum instruction and safe and supportive schools. Again, eliminating this position will result in less social, emotional, behavioral support for the students and staff at the Williams. At Bridgewater Middle School, we had proposed adding 2 additional 7th grade teachers to the 7th grade team, obviously directly tied to curriculum and instruction. Right now, to start next year, by eliminating those 2 positions, you are going to have average class size of 29 in 7th grade for a team size of roughly 150. Typically, the middle school model recommends team size around 100. That way you really get to know your students on a more deeper level. Unfortunately, when you start to creep up, such as 150, there's going to be less personalization, which is unfortunate. So again, eliminating those 2 proposed positions will result and average class size of 29, and that's without any new movements, move-ins. That is just our current enrollment. On the Raynham side of the district, at the Merrill Elementary School, we had proposed adding an additional first grade teacher. That position actually wasn't filled this year, and we were hoping to be able to get that position back into the budget for next year. But again, eliminating that position will result in a class size average of 29 in first grade at the Merrill Elementary School next year. We had also proposed adding a school adjustment counselor between the Merrill and the La Liberty Elementary Schools. Again, we have two school psychologists on the Raynham side. Again, between those two schools, you're looking at a little under 1,000 students. So those two school psychologists, again, will share, each have a caseload of about 425 students. Again, all the responsibilities of all the special education responsibilities of chairing those meetings, conducting the academic testing, again, writing all the reports, and then handling the day-to-day needs of our students. So they'll have an average caseload of 425 without the additional school adjustment counselor. At Raynham Middle School, we had proposed adding one 7th grade teacher, again tied to curriculum instruction. By eliminating that 7th grade teacher, you will start the year with an average of 30 in each 7th grade class next year at Raynham Middle School.
Are there any aides in any of those grades, first grade, second grade, third grade,
We do have some educational support professionals that work with our inclusion classrooms. So you might have, for example, I think there's 2 or 3 that service the entire Merrill school. So certainly not for each one of those classrooms.
The average class size is 29, if you could have a classroom with an educational support person might be a little bit lower because it's a special ed class, but then that means another class would be higher. An average means they're not all equal.
That is a great point. Yeah, absolutely. We always try to keep, when possible, our inclusion classrooms a little bit lower, just because the need sometimes of the student is greater. We've seen the last couple of years we haven't really been able to do that. They're starting to creep up, and so we certainly would anticipate probably the majority of the classes to be 29, but if Ms. Westell or the other principals really made a commitment to keeping that lower, then yes, you could have a class of 30, 31, so that inclusion class could stay. Now, the other thing is with that, that educational support professional isn't in that classroom all day to support that teacher. They do rotate through the classrooms, so you might just have one teacher in there at a time with, if we go over that average 30, 31, 32 students, that ESP may only be in there for a portion of the day, a certain academic period, or could be anywhere from halftime. And also you'd have the special education teacher rotating through as well. So there will be times throughout the day where some of these classrooms may have 2 adults in it for small periods of the day, but certainly not all day.
Thank you.
Again, Mr. Swenson built his budget with 4 additional positions at the high school. Adding one teacher in the business department, 1 teacher to the history department, 1 teacher in the music department, and 1 teacher in the art department. Believe it or not, for a high school of almost 1,500 students, we only have currently 1 music and 1 art teacher. So we really do not have a lot of elective offerings that we can provide our students. By adding those additional staff in those departments, we would certainly be able to increase our electives. Also, in the history department, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education just revised the social studies, history, social studies framework with really a strong emphasis on civics, which we were really hoping to bring back a true civics program at the high school. So by adding that additional history teacher, we'd be able to do that. And certainly in the business department, we want to be able to provide our students real life skills that they'll be able to graduate Bridgewater-Raynham with, to be able to go out, whether they start their own business or simply just managing their lives on a daily basis. We want them to have those skills. So we'd be able to offer additional business offerings, business skills for life classes. But obviously, if we do not include any of those 4 positions, there will be a reduction in elective offerings at the high school. Yes.
Eliminating those positions, does that affect any recommendations or renovation issues created
accreditation issues?
That's a great question. Certainly, NEASC always recommends that we provide as many offerings as possible in terms of electives. If we were to eliminate all our electives, that certainly would affect our accreditation. Because these were 4 additional new positions, it wouldn't necessarily affect our current accreditation through NEASC at this time, but we don't anticipate it doing that. But certainly, if this trend continues, where we're not able to continue to add electives and provide different offerings, it certainly could impact NEASC and our accreditation. District-wide, we had proposed 5 new positions. The first one being a curriculum coach, obviously tied directly into curriculum and instruction. We currently do not have any instructional support for our teachers. And by that, I mean we don't have actually a person that can go in and support teaching and learning, can support the curriculum, can go in and do model lessons for our teachers. The school committee in the towns have really supported implementing new resources and new programs over the last couple of years. I know Mr. Swenson, prior to my arrival, rolled out a whole new math series, elementary through middle school. We just rolled out a new reading program, Wonders at the elementary level, K through 5. We don't have a math coach. We don't have an ELA coach that can actually go in and work with teachers. We basically give them the book, try to provide a little professional development, and that's it. They rely on each other, which is great, and it's a great resource that the teachers have each other, but unfortunately they don't, if they're teaching a class, they can't be a resource for a colleague. This coaching position would actually allow us to have a person that could go in, work with teachers, attend their common planning meetings, their PLCs, their grade levels, talk about instructional best practices, and then actually work with a teacher to implement those best practices in the classroom. Follow up with that person again back at the PLCs, grade level meetings. In an ideal world, we would have a curriculum coach in each major content area. We're proposing just one, and again, this position would be pre-K to 12, so this particular position would take on a lot of responsibility. I think the other thing, the major component of this would really be the coordination of curriculum. One of the challenges being a regional school district is, we're spread pretty thin over 2 towns. This position would allow our lead teachers to come together on a more consistent basis, really making sure what's happening in Raynham is happening in Bridgewater. And we've also had, again, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education in the last 3 to 4 years has released revisions in all of the major curriculum areas, from ELA, math, social studies, and obviously science as well. Again, we don't necessarily have that one dedicated person for curriculum that's working with the teachers to make those adjustments. So that's, again, that's something that I think is truly needed to move the district forward. But if we have to reduce it, again, that's what we would have. We would really have a true lack of instructional support for teachers and a true coordination of our curriculum. Technology, we had proposed adding a technician to the technology department. Currently, Mr. Shantz and his staff of 2, they manage, if you equate the number, about 9,000 end users. By that I mean students, staff, and devices. So whether it be a desktop, a Chromebook, a laptop, it could be an overhead projector, it could be a smart board. There's roughly between 9,000 students, staff, and devices that those 3 individuals actually have to manage. So really, they each share a workload of about 3,000 per them. Now, Mr. Shantz has been unbelievable. He's rolled his sleeves up and jumped right in. But really, someone at the management level, we would really like to see developing more strategic planning for his department, rolling out big pictures, managing the behind the scenes where Mr. Shantz is really having to get involved in the day-to-day break fix. So we would love to be able to add an additional technician to, again, support technology. Technology, the district has made a pretty hefty investment in technology over the last few years. We want to make sure that we get a great return on our investment. We had also proposed adding 2 health teachers to really address the health and wellness of our students. We currently do not have a dedicated health program in our schools. Some of our physical education teachers may be dual certified as health teachers, so they've taken on some of that responsibility, especially at this time of year when we have snow on the ground and maybe they can't get outside, or the gym is being used for a variety of different reasons. They'll take their PE classes and maybe do a modified health lesson. We really were proposing to add 2 additional staff members in the health department to really focus on healthy lifestyles, making good choices around substance abuse. We really felt as though that these two positions could give us, again, a great return on our investment. You know, I've stood before you to talk about the vaping epidemic that we are experiencing, and we have some great plans from our students about that. But these two individuals could really try to help, you know, with the prevention and intervention programs that could address some of those. Other substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, really, if we can get, you know, to our students as early as possible, delivering a positive message about making healthy choices, we feel as though, again, we'll get a great return on our investment. But unfortunately, if we have to eliminate those two positions, we will, again, continue without any type of health program in the district. And then we proposed adding one school psychologist. This person would not be necessarily assigned to any one building. It would be more of a district-wide floating position. And this person would really be responsible for providing, again, that social, emotional, behavioral coaching and support to staff and students. So if we had a crisis in the district, maybe a loss of a student or loss of a family member, this particular person would be able to go out and assist the school-based staff with managing that crisis. Would also be able to go out and consult with the buildings if we are, having some challenges with a particular student, socially, emotionally, behaviorally. This particular person would be able to go out, work with a classroom teacher, work with the student, providing supports and putting strategies in place. This person would also take on the responsibility of the out-of-district team chairing. Currently, we do not have a true out-of-district coordinator. That position was eliminated last year. Mr. Jovelos and his staff are trying to piecemeal that responsibility together. So we really would love to be able to bring back an out-of-district coordinator, but also taking on some of these other responsibilities. And I did include, after talking to Ms. Bacido and Mr. Jovelos, we're looking at just shy of $5 million that we spend in out-of-district. So you can see it really is something where we don't want to have any missteps. It's costly already, and rightfully so. Our students that do go out of district need that level of support, and we certainly can't put a price tag on their success. But you can see we certainly spend a lot of money there where we want to make sure, again, we're getting great returns on our investment. We want someone that can truly manage that process and obviously manage that amount of money. So those are some of the personnel implications of what would happen. As Mr. Swenson did explain to you, we've also gone into things, materials. So right now we've had a reduction of about $300,000 in our textbook line. Our middle school teachers right now, grades 6, 7, and 8, are piloting a science program. Our hope was if the pilot went well that we would be able to purchase those textbooks next year. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll be able to. We've gotten pretty good feedback on the pilot. However, I'm just not sure we'll be able to move forward. Again, that's to meet the new frameworks put forth by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. As I explained to you, the history and social studies frameworks were also updated with a strong emphasis on physics, and that is a new requirement in grade 8. Grade 8 is to only focus on, civics. Focus on civics. Unfortunately, right now they're doing more of world history, world cultures, ancient civilizations. So again, we would really need a whole new tech series to meet the new standards. Again, those have been eliminated as we currently are. Mr. Swenson did mention that we've eliminated school supplies. Paper, pencils, things that teachers and students need on a daily basis, unfortunately, right now have been eliminated. That also goes into the unified art areas, looking at PE supplies, art supplies, music supplies as well. And then, obviously, other areas, obviously, we've already reduced our facilities numbers. Mr. Fox had proposed replacing a industrial-sized lawnmower, not, your typical backyard John Deere, but quite a large lawnmower that you've probably seen them. It's really kind of looks more like a crop duster. It's that big, so it came with quite the price tag. But unfortunately, that's been eliminated from the budget. We've also looked at reducing maintenance, the amount of maintenance expenditures at all the buildings. So again, being able to do that preventative maintenance, daily cleaning, some of that has been reduced. And obviously, we're looking to, hopefully, fingers crossed, be able to reduce utilities. Right now, that's where we've had to cut. But again, if you have a bad winter, the lights stay on a little bit longer than you budgeted for, you tend to run into issues. So those are things that we currently are proposing to cut. And based on the numbers right now, that's what it looks like. There were technology items that didn't even necessarily make the budget. Some of the items that were in there, we've been able to fortunately not cut at this time, but certainly those are things that we may have to. But I know there were some district-wide initiatives that Mr. Shantz wanted to include in the budget, and unfortunately, we just didn't feel as though the budget could support that. So technology will take a hit, facilities will take a hit, safe and supportive schools, and obviously curriculum instruction. So you can see our 4 pillars that our strategic plan is based on, our student success plan, have been unfortunately negatively impacted.
Very somber presentation. Did anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts?
Madam Chair, I have a comment. This may go to Ms. Macedo or Mr. Powers or Mr. Swenson. How does the increased class size, will that affect the CBA with the teachers as a change in environment of their working conditions?
No, there's no contractual language in terms of class size cap. So we wouldn't necessarily have any violations of the collective bargaining agreement if we had to increase numbers in our class.
And the only other thing I have is a comment, Madam Chair. And
Sure.
I never like to make comments out of place, but I think a comment is finally due. Years ago, and I brought this up at the last school committee meeting, years ago, the town of Bridgewater was hurting, and they did not, the town of Bridgewater was not able to meet the requirement at that time, any of it, which drastically reduced the school and the budget across each community drastically down. All we're asking at the school committee, the school district, is to reset to where we should have been if that down grade hadn't happened. So I don't know when we're ever gonna get that, because it feels like every year we ask for a bump to get us to where we should have been. We're not even asking for a raise. We're not asking for an increase. We're asking to go where we should have been if there wasn't that, hardship that they had inquired over time. So I don't know when we're ever gonna fix that. I don't know if we're ever gonna get there. Feels like every year we ask to try to get there, but it doesn't even feel like there's a compromise. We ask for 18 and we get 0. Last year, we asked for numbers, we got 0. We can't even have, I'll meet you in the middle this year, and we'll try to get some more next year. So I don't know when this is ever gonna get fixed. I know there's a lot of increase in homes in Bridgewater, so obviously there's getting an increase in tax revenue, and I can guarantee you, as soon as parents find out that their children are gonna be in classroom sizes of 30, the taxes in home sales in Bridgewater are gonna plummet, and people are gonna go out of district. Just proven fact, if their child is going to be in a classroom size of 30 or more. That was my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Marrera. Any other comments? So we will continue to work with both towns and see if we can reconcile. We're doing this process much earlier in the years than we have ever done. And we will see what we can do, what we can tweak, and what we can find. And then we will be doing our official budget presentation on March 6th.
I just
Which
want
will be here in this building as well.
As a follow-up to Mr. Marrera.
13th, I'm sorry.
There are times when Bridgewater cannot handle their share of the assessment, which in effect results in Raynham reducing theirs. In the past, there's been talks about Raynham gifting money to the district. When they gift, it has to be sustainable, so it's difficult for it to go towards staff, because if they can't do it the following year, then we have unemployment, et cetera, type things. So, not that we wouldn't appreciate a gift or accept a gift, but we do have to keep in mind what we use it for, that if it's not sustainable, that it is used for staffing, that we would have to, lay off to the following year if they couldn't keep it up. And I wish if Bridgewater, yes, we're building. Unfortunately, they do come, even though maybe with 30 kids in a classroom, they may change their minds, but there are other departments in the town that are suffering as well, so anyone and everyone should attend the town meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure. Mr.
Sorry. Just to speak to a gift, I just want to clarify. We've had tentative conversations.
I'm not
nothing-
saying that you're
Right.
going to, but there's been.
But I
in the past.
would want to clarify, and this is very difficult as a superintendent to say, because I need to advocate for all of our students, I need to advocate for all of our staff. If it is a situation where gift does become a situation on either side of the district, where that gift comes from, unfortunately, those resources have to go to that side of the district. I know that's difficult possibly for a Bridgewater parent to hear, that if the town of Raynham were to give a gift and it came in form of 2 or 3 teachers or whatever it may be, that the class size on that side of the district would be reduced, where we'd still have high class size on the Bridgewater side. And as a superintendent, I have a really difficult time with that. I'm also a parent in Raynham, so it's one of those deals where I put my parent hat on, and that was happening on the Bridgewater side, and my child was sitting in a high-class size, and a gift came from the Bridgewater side and reduced, the class size on that side. I would see that as an equity. However, we have to understand that if one town is willing to gift monies, that the resources unfortunately would have to go to that side of the district, K-8. It wouldn't even impact the high school, which is our only truly regionalized building within the district. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that piece, because as much as, we would appreciate a gift, I also see it as kind of an issue for us as a district in terms of inequities, if we're supposed to think regionally, as I do as the superintendent, so.
Let me just correct my mistake, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The budget presentation is March 13th, and it's a Wednesday, and it will be here in this building. I'm sorry, Mr. Dolan.
No, I just wanted to raise the $400,000 elephant, if you would. You've laid out quite eloquently of where the cuts have come from already. Where else could we look to? Are we looking at extracurricular? Are we looking at sports? Are we looking at what else?
To be honest, I think everything's on the table. I don't think we can say we're not going to look at one particular area, because if we focus on one area, it's going to have a ripple effect onto another. So I do think at this time, we've had follow-up conversations about, okay, what other areas, what other potential places could we cut back? And those have all come up. Could it be more from the text line? It would be ideal, but could we take some more money from there? Could we unfortunately have to tap into some of the technology resources? Could we look into other facility supplies? Again, we want our buildings to be clean, but that could obviously be an option. And then we do look at things like extracurricular, athletics, clubs. Those are all really should be untouchable items, but I don't think unfortunately anything's untouchable at this point. $400,000 is a lot of money, and it takes, I know Ms. Macedo, quite a deal of time. It's not something that she can go and just subtract 400,000. It's line by line by line, and take a little bit from here and a little bit from there, and it's quite a tedious process. So I think, unfortunately, if we're going to start taking a little bit from here and there, we really have to take a little bit from everywhere.
Thank you.
Sure, Mrs. King.
I just want to say, so to reiterate, with a 3.4% increase that they're tentatively giving us, that's a huge deficit in our budget right now. We're cutting staffing that we would like to add in. We're definitely cutting supplies. We're cutting textbooks that we might need. And then $400,000 might be staffing, might be extracurricular, might be sports. That's a huge amount of things to cut. So their increase is a huge deficit to us for next year. We really need residents of the towns to go to your town and say, the school budget is on your budget, and we need you to advocate to prioritize the school. We're just a line item. We don't fund ourselves. We're a line item on the town budgets. They pay fire, they fund police, fire, schools. We need them to prioritize the schools. We serve over 5,000 students, and those are townspeople's, and we need the residents to understand that. We need them to prioritize the schools.
Right, because if we do have to go to more staffing, I mean, we're looking for a new school, whether it's renovated or a whole new building. I mean, the town's gonna vote for a whole new construction. It's really gonna be hard to get the taxpayers to say, hey, I'm gonna build you a new school, but you just laid off. You know, it's one thing not to hire new people, but it's another thing if we have to go further down the staffing lines, in my opinion.
I think offsetting the operational budget each year with revolving accounts and E&D, that's a bad financial practice, because what you're basically doing is inflating that number each and every year with funds that may not be there the following year. And we do, people say, the E&D that we have at the end of the year, I mean, that's not due to, padding an operational budget. That's due to strong fiscal conservative practices that the district has put in place since Ms. Macedo's time here, starting with Dr. Forbes. I mean, they really turned this budget around. For years, this district had, up until the time that Dr. Forbes and Kathy came into the district, had years and peaks and valleys of good years and then a bad year and then major layoffs. Since 2009, 2010, this district has not laid off one employee due to budgetary issues. I mean, we've done things through attrition, which means that we're not laying off, but we're not filling positions, and that's not good either, because that is a reduction in force. But in terms of massive layoffs that this district had encountered in the late 90s and early 2000s, since 2009, we're 2019 right now. It's 10 years that a strong fiscal practice has been put in place in this district. But we're getting to that point where you can I've never seen a district do more with less. I really truly believe that. My teachers, my paraprofessionals, my custodians, my secretaries, my administrative staff, my central office staff. I mean, we're a very skeleton crew for the second largest regional school district in the Commonwealth. And it's going to get to a point where you can only do so much before that bubble bursts. And it's going to be a situation where we might find ourselves in a 2009, 2010 situation again, where we do have class sizes. When I first came in as the building principal at BMS, 34 to a class. That was the average to start the year. We don't want to go back. As we said, we just put together this student success plan. We put a lot of hard work in it. There's a lot that we want to do through our action planning to move this district forward. And as Mr. Powers said, that plan is driven by the budget, but that budget should drive the plan. And I think it's a situation where the towns have to recognize that. And I understand that they have only so much monies to spread throughout the municipal departments, as Mrs. King just said. But our schools are a big part of that. We're the biggest municipal department in both towns. We service 5,500 students. We have 500 employees. It's a lot that goes into running an organization of this magnitude effectively and efficiently. And I just feel as though we want to be fair with the towns, but I have to advocate, the committee has to advocate, and parents and families in the towns, you have to advocate for our children and our staff. And that's what, we're hoping that this information being brought forth to you early on in the process, earlier than most years. And, other things that we've put in place this year. We finally have put the towns of Bridgewater-Raynham in the same room. That's never happened in the history of the district. We've had one joint budget subcommittee meeting. We're going to have another one on the 20th of March. It's important that both towns know we're a region. We're a regional school district. Both towns need to know how they play into this region. So I can't say enough about my concerns right now for the operational budget for next year. I will continue, as the committee and the subcommittees will do, to continue to work with the towns, but I do impress upon our families, our staff, our employees, please reach out to our town leaders and let them know where we are in this process, and that we need to work together collaboratively to make sure not only we bridge this shortfall of 400,000, but we're able to get some of those positions that Mr. Powers talked about having to reduce. And we need things. You need paper. You need glue. You need crayons, and you need those things too. And we can't always count that at the end of the year, we might have some monies on the bottom line to do some end-of-year spending. That might end too at some point. So I just impress upon our community, and our parents, and our committee members, myself and my employees to, let's all work collectively and collaboratively to try to move this district forward and get this operational budget in check, not only for next year, but it's a game of chess, not checkers. I don't want to keep moving one step a year. We need to look at a plan that's going to impact this district from now, to the end of time. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and we're going to move on now. Thank you, Mr. Powers, very much. We're going to move on to new business, and it will be a vote to approve the school choice for the 2019-2020 school year. Ms. Macedo.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, Mr. Swenson. You have a memo that we do every year regarding school choice, and in the past, we used to do school choice grades 1 through 12. We never did kindergarten. But as the years have moved on, and as we've been discussing, our class sizes in the lower grades are already at max. So going forward for the 2020 school year, it might be that we need to limit again to just grades 9 through 12, and not be able to offer the 1st through 8. So we'd need a recommendation to do 9 through 12.
So, Madam Chair, in the form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Macedo.
All right, and now we're going to move on to the proposal of the 2019-2020 school calendar, and this will be a first reading by Mr. Powers, and I believe we're going to put it up on the screen so everyone can see
I
it.
can, sure, not a problem.
So once, unless, we have it in our packet, or what's easier? Maybe
It's
the
good for us,
audience
but
could
what
see
about them?
the.
Do they?
Yeah, why don't we have him put it up on the screen? If the light bulb still works.
Put down the budget.
Light bulb still works.
That's why we. It's all for effect. Dr. Kremendowski, just for the visual effect, there is information down below that kind of explains which I'll walk through, obviously, school committee and the audience, but I'm afraid if I minimize it too much, you won't actually be able to see that clearly. So I'll leave it like that. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the school committee, Superintendent Swenson. I am here tonight to present to you the first read of the proposed academic calendar and calendar of important events for the school year 1920. Which is kind of hard because I feel like we were just here talking about 1819. But nonetheless, here we go. So we are proposing right now that teachers and staff would return for convocation on August 27th, 2019. They would then have 2 days of professional development, August 28th and 29th. Typically, we have 3 days of professional development. There's actually 1 day embedded later on in the calendar, which I'll explain to you, but that is certainly something that I welcome your feedback on. Friday and Monday signifies the long weekend for Labor Day. All schools and offices are closed on that Friday the 30th, as well as Monday the 2nd of September. All students in grades 1 through 12 return to school on Tuesday, September 3rd, and our preschool and kindergarten students return, or I really should say start school on Wednesday the 4th, September 4th. So those are the major days in September. Moving on to October. Monday, October 14th is, there'll be no school in honor of Columbus Day. On Thursday, October 17th, it will be an early release day for professional development. The school committee has been most gracious the last couple of years, providing 2 additional early release days, typically one in the fall, October, November-ish, and one again in the spring. It's been around March for additional professional development for our staff. So again, we're proposing an additional early release day in October, and that would be October 17th. That obviously highlights our major days in October. Moving on to November. Thursday, November 7th would be an early release day for parent-teacher conferences for our students in pre-K through 8. And our high school, again, would engage in professional development or common planning. The high school actually has several additional early release days built in because of their NEASC findings. NEASC requires them to engage in so much professional development throughout the year, so the calendar reflects that. Monday, November 11th, there will be no school in honor of Veterans Day. And then going towards the end of the month, the 27th of November would be an early release day. Contractually, we have an early release day before the Thanksgiving break. And obviously the 28th and 29th would be no school. Thursday the 28th for Thanksgiving, and obviously 29th, that Friday after Thanksgiving, school will be closed as well. Moving into December. December obviously is somewhat unique this year with our December vacation, our Christmas vacation. The way the calendar is laid out right now is that Friday the 20th would be an early release day. Again, contractually, we always have an early release day before the winter holiday vacation. Christmas this year does fall on a Wednesday, so this presents a unique situation for us. And what I am proposing, and I'll give my rationale as to why, is that students would be off Monday the 23rd all the way through all the way through Friday, January 3rd, which would actually be 2 weeks off at the holiday. I believe this is probably the most educationally sound proposal, and the rationale behind it is this. Obviously, when we're talking about teaching and learning, consistency is key. I do believe that bringing students back for an early release day on Monday, the 23rd, would not be in the best interest of the students in terms of transitioning. Obviously, again, we want that consistent routine. Coming back for a half day, I'm not sure what type of attendance we would have, and I don't think necessarily it would be great to bring our students back. Some of our students really struggle with transitions. Same thing on the other end, coming back for 2 days, it really does disrupt the educational process. I understand 2 weeks does seem like a long time to be off, but again, through that student lens, really thinking about, again, being off, coming back for 2 days, I can tell you in terms of instruction, 2 days, you wouldn't even be able to scratch the surface with a reading lesson for the week, your math lesson for the week. It really would be getting students back into the routine, and now all of a sudden it's time to go into the weekend. The other thing I think this presents an opportunity for us, we've talked a lot about our social and emotional needs of our students and how much some of our students are under stress and anxiety. I do believe this 2 weeks does give them a chance to decompress and recharge before, again, the second half of the school year. As you know, statistically, 1 out of 5 students will display some type of sign, symptom, or characteristic of a mental health disorder sometime during their educational career. So 20% of our students, such as things like anxiety. I do think this provides us an opportunity for our students, again, to step away from the stresses of education and to, spend additional time with families. I've, gone over this calendar with parents, with administrators, and with our teachers. And again, certainly those we received favorable feedback on having 2 weeks at the holiday break. I do think it's also important, Mr. Swenson and I, when we have the opportunity, we talk to some of our high school students. We were just talking to a mom the other day about her daughter taking 4 AP classes. We had an opportunity to talk to a student not too long ago. She was in multiple AP classes, was an athlete, a student athlete, as well as part of Rainwater, and she laid her schedule out for us. And obviously she got out of school at 2 o'clock. Practice was, starting around 2:33. She would practice until 5, run home real quick, have something to eat, and be back for Rainwater until sometimes 10, 11 o'clock. She was then going home. She was an AP student, spending 2-3 hours worth of doing, 2-3 hours worth of homework, not getting to bed until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't think she's an outlier. I think that's for many of our students the norm. So we, again, just viewing any opportunity, Mr. Swenson has been unbelievable in his support for our students the last couple of years, really asking teachers to pull back on the amount of work, if any, assigned over vacations, really to give our students a chance to, again, decompress and recharge. So again, just, the proposed calendar has the 2 weeks off at the Christmas vacation for those reasons. Moving into January, Monday, January 20th would be a no-school day in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. Moving into February, the third week in February is always February vacation, so we would have a week off there, which obviously is coming up next week for us this year. Moving into March, Mr. Swenson has received some feedback from both the towns of Raynham and the town of Bridgewater from their town clerks in regards to the presidential primary election, which is scheduled for March 3rd, 2020. They are anticipating a very large turnout. And although Mr. Swenson has expressed to them, as much as we want to be part of the political process, talk about real-world civics lesson, closing schools for elections does present somewhat of a disruption, as I just explained to you, and a challenge. We typically only close school down for the presidential elections because of the large turnout. We typically keep schools open, but they are anticipating a very large turnout for this primary, and have asked, appealed to Mr. Swenson about possibly canceling school that day. So this proposed calendar does include a no school day for students on March 3rd, but that would be our third day of professional development for staff. There is another option there, should the school committee decide to go in this direction. Again, one of the things that school will be closed, there won't be students here, but we'll still have our staff here. And obviously, staff take up parking spots, so having staff here does present somewhat of a challenge. That could be a no school day for everyone, students and staff, and we would start the school year back on August 26th and have our 3 days of PD there. So that is an option, again, if the school committee so chooses to go in that direction. But that's, right now, we're proposing it would be a day off for students on the 3rd, with teachers and staff coming in for professional development on the 3rd. Thursday, and what the other thing, just as a side note, we typically, as I said, have another early release day for professional development in March. I took that out of the proposed calendar once we decided to put forward having no school on the 3rd. So we won't have that extra early release because we will have potentially a full day of professional development. Thursday, March 19th, is an early release date for parent-teacher conferences, again, for our pre-K to 8 population, and that would be a professional development early release for our 9 through 12 students. Moving into April, Friday, April 10th, there'll be no school in observance of Good Friday. April 20th through the 24th would be April school vacation. Moving into May, May 25th, there would be no school in honor of Memorial Day. And that brings us to June. So right now, with the way the proposed calendar sits, the last day of school would be Thursday, June 18th. And as you know, we have to build a school calendar with 185 school days in it to account for snow. So with those 5 days, our school year would end on June 25th. Again, as I explained to the committee every year, that's really just an arbitrary number. They ask us to build a calendar with 5 snow days, but if we have 6, 7, 8 snow days, we still have to make up 6, 7, 8 days. It's not, again, that 5 day number is really arbitrary. The only thing we really have to worry about is if we come up on July. But, if we have more than 5, we can certainly go the 26th, 29th, 30th, and so forth. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Not that we have to worry about it. And again, all that information is provided there. Tentative mid-year exam dates for the high school are posted down the bottom as well as the early release times for parents, so they know when we do have an early release, what time their students will be getting out. The second page, really, that you have in your packet, and I won't share it up here, it really just talks about open house, the midpoint days of the term. Really, it has no bearing on necessarily the calendar. It's more just mathematically, if we're in trimesters, what's the midday point of the trimester, and then when conferences will be. But you have that information in front of you there, if you have any feedback or questions.
Anybody have any questions while the calendar's up on the? Yeah, I understand your whole social emotional development thing. I personally don't see a problem in going back on Thursday the 2nd. I districts that are going back on that date. I also understand that it's in the contract, you got a half a day on the day before break, but we had a big discussion about that in negotiations, and I wasn't a fan, and I'll speak for myself, that knowing that it was gonna be a Friday falling into a full week, we tried to get a full day for that year, and there wasn't a negotiation there, so I personally don't want a half a day on Friday, I'd rather see it on Monday. And we talk about potentially pursuing blizzard bags so that we're not going to school late in June and adding those extra days in December and such, and Saturday on Monday, pushing you off further in June if we're not in the blizzard bag season. So I don't understand how you can have it both ways. We want blizzard bags because they're not going to do work in June, but we want vacation in December for them, longer for them to recruit.
And I understand your point. We would, no matter what, we would still be getting out that week in June, even if we had the students come back that Thursday.
However, if I could, we not only would be getting out that week in June, but our last day at 180 days without snow days would be on Monday the 15th.
It is what it is. I mean, we don't create a calendar. I mean, we created as far as.
Right, but then the point is, do we leave it on a Thursday and have 3.5 days where people will hopefully still be in school? Or do we end on a Monday and really, how many people are going to start vacation on the 12th?
Right, it's still going to be happening.
Right, and I'm not disputing the half day. I'm saying it's a half day. It's even more of a reason why people will leave on that Friday and say, it's over for the year.
One of my concerns, and I don't have children anymore in the district, but when I did, and I had 2 working parents, this Christmas vacation for people that are working and trying to find childcare, I agree. I do like the Thursday, Friday. I understand your point. I'm not an educator, so I have to go with you on that. But I also, I would like them to do a half day the Monday, but I'd be willing to let that go if we could get an agreement the full day on Friday. Because again, half days are tough for parents that are working. You have to find childcare, and now you're asking someone for 2 full weeks of trying to take care of the kids. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. This is only the first reading, but I wish we could do something with that Friday in return for the Monday. Perhaps we could get the union to agree so that that would be 1 less half day for parents. And then I too would like them to go back to Thursday, Friday. I think that's a long time to be away, but obviously it's a full.
Yeah, I think next year on a leap year, when it falls on, Christmas gets pushed out a week, and then it's Friday, 1 day, but, what's 2 days that we can.
Any other comments? All right, very good. So we can take this under advisement and we'll go back to it on our next meeting. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Unless we can have professional development Hawaii on that trip.
Well, that goes go in August, right? There's a reason why we don't go back. All right.
Thanks, Ryan.
And next up, we have our gifts and grants. Mr. Swenson?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. We have a very generous gift for the Jones family of Bridgewater. They have a student in our preschool program. They, through the fundraising effort through the Fund for Autistic Children Incorporated, have done some fundraising activities and would like to donate $5,000 to our preschool program so that we could have some of our students who are nonverbal have some technology and other communication tools to help the population with severe communication deficits. So that is the only gift we have this evening. I ask for a vote of approval for it.
Thank you very much. Motion to approve the gift, Mrs. Holbrook, second by Mrs. King. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Jones family and to the Fund for Autistic Children.
And we'll send them a nice letter.
Absolutely, yes.
That's amazing.
And now we're on to approval of the warrants. Motion to approve the payroll warrants dated January 31st, 2019. Motion by Mrs. Scoparis, second by Mr. Marrera. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. And we're going to move on to the general ledger warrants dated January 31st, 2019. Motion by Mrs. Scoparis, second by Mr. Marrera. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So voted. Thank you very much. And at this point, we will have anyone that would wish to address the committee. This is our public comment. If you would come up to the podium and just please state your name and address, that would be wonderful. Thank you for your patience listening to our entire meeting. We appreciate that. You did wonderful.
Madam Chair, school committee members, Superintendent Swenson, my name is Katie Moreau. I live at 20 Brookside Drive in Bridgewater. There are 3 music students who would like to introduce themselves and express what the music program means to them. When it comes to keeping a music program a priority and giving it the support it requires to thrive, it's usually the parents who speak on the kids' behalf, but they would like to speak for themselves tonight as to what it means to them to be a BR musician and why the music program needs more support.
Good evening, Mr. Swenson and, and the ladies and gentlemen of the school committee. My name is Sophia Senna. I am in grade 5. I play the trumpet. I play for the 5th and 6th grade band, and I am also in the junior jazz club.
Hello, my name is Quinn Daly, and I do saxophone lessons, band, chorus, junior jazz band, and ukulele.
Hello, I am Delaney Morrell, and I am in grade 7. I am in percussion in band, BR marching band, winter percussion, and junior jazz band.
Why the music programs are important to us. It is fun to be together in a band with people playing different instruments, making us unique in so many ways. Every single band member can feel proud once we show off all our hard work in concerts performing for our friends and family. Music is valuable and meaningful to me. I love how musicians can entertain people with their talents, and it doesn't matter how old you are, just do what you love to do.
Our music program is important because band and chorus is a place to go to express yourself and be with other people and your friends. It also gives us the opportunity to learn and increase in music. It's also another way to be able to hear the way you play as a band or a chorus. Band makes me feel a part of something that I am very proud of. The music programs are important to us because it's where kids from all different backgrounds can get together and play music together and laugh together and grow as one big family. You get to escape your problems by playing music.
What we think about Step Up Night and how it helps our music programs grow. I thought Step Up Night was great. I loved hanging out with one of the high school marching band members. We get to experience what it would be like to be in a high school band and get prepared to be part of it someday. It helps our music programs grow because being involved in this amazing event helps influence people to be a marching band member during their high school years.
Step Up Night is an amazing opportunity to see what the marching band is like. Step Up Night is also a way of getting more kids to join, or at least see if they want to join, the high school marching band. It is also a time where the younger kids can bond with the older kids and hang out. The older kids can maybe even tell them about the marching band. It is also a thing, if they like it, that kids get to look forward to in their high school years. In the marching band, the kids get to play for other people and become more comfortable playing for a big crowd. Lastly, programs like Step Up Night make sure our music program continues in the future. Step Up Night is a chance for younger kids to experience what is coming to them in the next few years. It helps the music program by giving kids the opportunity to experience that, so they get to choose if they want to continue playing music and be part of the music department.
What we hope for our music programs in the future. I would like the 4th grade band to come together as a band too, even though they are just learning their instruments. I am loving junior jazz band and hope it continues. I think it would be great if 5th and 6th grade band had more time to meet. Also, I think it would be great to have more solo opportunities for some songs in both band and chorus. I ask you to please think of these things during planning and for improvement of our music programs next year.
In the future, I hope more bands open up to the 4th grade band. I know that they are still learning their instruments, but maybe it will encourage them to keep going and not quit. It will be an opportunity for them to hear each other as a band. I would also really like the junior jazz band to continue in the future. It is a way for younger kids to learn the basics of jazz, and then soon be able to move into the high school jazz band. I also hope that the directors get the support they need to continue the band and chorus. Our directors do so much and inspire us to be better musicians and people. What I hope for is that it continues and more kids to join and love it as much as I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Daly. I live at 25 Town Line Circle. I have a 6th grader, 4th grader, and currently doing kindergarten registration. So hello, Superintendent Swenson and Madam Chairperson and members of the school committee. First, Junior Music Boosters would like to thank Mr. Swenson, Mr. Gelfi, and Mrs. Skalperis for attending our December Junior Music Boosters meeting to hear our concerns and answer questions about funding for the music program. We also would like to thank Quinn, Sophie, and Delaney for speaking on behalf of their music peers and to share their hopes for the program. It's the hope of Junior Music Boosters and music parents that our program receives the support it deserves in funding and planning. We understand clearly what the financial situation is after tonight's presentation and what challenges the district is facing with a growing population and the loss of a building. This is all the more reason to begin being proactive in regards to our music programs so that we can ensure the students continue to succeed and have opportunities. We feel strongly that in order to plan, members of the school committee, administration, our director staff, and parents need to come together to face our challenges and come up with solutions. This begins with you. A committee assigned with this task will show the music as a priority in our district and, more importantly, make sure it's there for our future musicians and singers. There are currently space issues and scheduling conflicts challenging our directors. Once the Mitchell project is complete and grade configuration has changed drastically, how will that affect the band and chorus programs? If given time and attention, these challenges will not become detrimental to the program, and solutions and plans can be made. But if we wait and see how it plays out without being proactive, it is our worry that we will lose parts of our program, overwork our directors, and see enrollment decrease. We need to ensure that our young musicians have a place to thrive and continue their music education in high school. We are asking you to dedicate a committee to music planning for the current challenges as well as planning for the future. Please let us know if this is something you can and will do, and if yes, what the timeline would be. Thank you for your time.
Well, we can certainly take that under advisement, and we can get back to you at our next school committee meeting about how we'd like to do that. Great job, kids. Thank you. See you in about 10 minutes.
Miss Senna, it's okay that you didn't know my name. That's all right. It's okay, sweetheart. Honestly, I have been called much worse just yesterday on Facebook for the early dismissal, so don't worry about it, okay? You're a sweetheart. You guys did such a great job. I love when our kids come to these committees, meetings, and advocate for themselves rather than through the voice of their parents. So I commend you for doing that. That took a lot of courage to do so. So I'm very proud of all of you.
Good job. And you can be on it in high school. They have high schools that come and speak, and tell us all about the school. You can do that, and then you can be in our seats after that. You're doing a great job.
And one of the biggest regrets I have in life is that I never learned to play an instrument. And I say that all the time. So me and Mr. Powers might start a two-man band. So he's going to crack. Can he borrow your ukulele? Because that's what I think I see him playing.
All right. And does any members of the committee have any announcements? Mr. Marrera?
Madam Chair, it's with great pleasure to inform the committee and everybody at home watching us that we are graduating the next Teen Cert class here at Bridgewater-Raynham Regional High School tomorrow night at 7 p.m. right here in this room. Everybody is more than free to come and participate in the graduation ceremony. We have 15 students graduating. Some of the topics that they learned were emergency, how to be prepared, how to take care of your family at home and how to be prepared, triage, some first aid, CPR, fire safety. So it's been a good 3 months worth of training, and it's come to the end.
Very good. That's wonderful.
If I could just thank Mr. Marrera for bringing this forward, this program. Mr. Powers and I had our coffee and conversations this Monday here at the high school, and we had some high school parents whose children are part of CERT, and they couldn't say enough about it, and how proud they are that the district has a program such as this. So thank you for bringing that forward, and thank you to all of our volunteers and our students that are involved in the program, and I look forward to tomorrow night.
Good. Any other announcements?
I was just questioning,
Sure.
Mr. Marrera, do you know when the ALICE trainings are starting up again? I think starting a new schedule.
ALICE training.
For the next Alice training,
Yeah.
that might be a question for Mr. Powers.
Mr. Guthrie, you get at the schools, when they're conducting their drills, I can get that information for you from their school committee. I'll ask the principals when they have their drill schedule.
Very good. No more announcements, so I would like a motion to adjourn at 8:35. Motion by Mr. Marrera, second by Mrs. Sigel Paris. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.